There you
All
go.
right, everybody. So there we are. We are back, and we want to give you guys some information. A lot has happened, as you know. Can you believe it? We're already going to 4th of July, 2023. This bullet train is
Crazy.
not stopping for anybody,
Yeah.
much less slow down, right, Jeff? So today I have the privilege of having Jeffrey Marples, or Jeff as I call him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is a San Francisco and Marin County real estate guru. This guy is talk about subject matter expert, a guy who has his boots on the ground at all times. This is the man. So we're going to chop it up a little bit and talk about real estate. What's going on here going into 4th of July of 2023? You tell me, Jeff, man, what's going on? It looks like there are a
You
lot,
tell
right?
me, huh? Real estate is it is a hit or miss market. It's been like that for all
Yeah.
year. I see things get into contract. I see things that are just sitting on the market. It's a very price sensitive market. I think that there are a lot of real estate agents that are starting to sort of backstab each other, to be frank with you. I mean, doing
Wow.
some not necessarily shady stuff, but definitely, I had a client stolen from me on a
Wow.
deal, and they canceled and they came back to me. And I knew about all this through a
Hmm.
third party agent because I know that she works the that building. And I sent her a cryptic text saying, "These are my people, you know that, right?" And she goes, um, so and so is representing him on this deal. I was just like, I mean, so there's
Wow.
this gray zone where there's people that are sort of getting at each other. Everybody's very aggressive. I'm finding that there are agents that, as you said, it's very easy to be a real estate agent. You don't necessarily have to have big brains, but the reality is there's not a lot of professionals. There's not a lot of people that take it as a hardcore career like I do and have the experience. And we talked about this the other day where there's agents that simply just don't pick up the phone and negotiate anymore. I mean, it's just sort of like I don't necessarily agree with how they present things to their clients, and so
Yeah.
it is one of these times in the marketplace that there's going to be a lot of attrition. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to give up. I'm making my own pivots, and I could talk to you about that in a little bit. But we are, I work every day. I am a grinder, and the reality for me is, I'm just going to keep at it every single day. I'm going to be keeping at it because the reality is after the volatility that our lovely chairman Jay Powell, once that all settles, then there's going to be less competition for real estate agents, and those true professionals that are taking it seriously, they're going to be very well positioned. But in that time period, agents need to get their stories, all of their marketing. They have to keep building their business. And it is a daily grind. You have to be looking at the long-term scenario here and hopefully just forget about the short-term pain that's going on in a daily basis. San Francisco real estate market definitely has its challenges, as you know. And it's not necessarily, it's the fentanyl issues, it's the homeless issue. There is work from home issues that are going to hurt the commercial banks or commercial buildings. And so all of that is compounding. That's why we're making a big, strong push up into Marin County. And that's why I'm sort of pivoting in different directions, both as broker and building a company, as well as just being an individual realtor that's out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think the moral of the story here, folks, is not all professionals are created equal. I've always said this, that in the trajectory of how we make a living really has three components to it. One, you start out with a job, right? Just over broke. Just have a job. Are you really excited about it? No, but it's, it pays the bills.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, it graduates into a career.
Mm-hmm.
More pay, more responsibility, maybe a nicer title, maybe even better card stock on your business card, whatever, right? Now, if you're really blessed, that career turns into a calling.
Mhm.
A calling in it is where what you do does not feel like work. What you do, you wake up at 4 in the morning and you're super pumped, and the money follows. It is not your focus, it is a byproduct, which is what you're alluding to here, Jeff, which is, and you can see this in how people talk, their mannerisms, and everything, how they carry themselves. You can identify when it's a calling for somebody or if it's just a job. Let's be honest. Look, everybody became a realtor in 2020, right? Because it was easy money. But how many of those are real practitioners? Who are the ones who, like you, Jeff, are grinding every day? And when I say grinding, negotiating for their clients, having their best interest, looking for properties, because look, it's not easy. There's no inventory out there, folks. That's part of the
Yeah.
reason why, if you're watching this and you think there's a bubble and the prices are going to come down 20%, with all due respect, you're sadly mistaken. That's not going to happen in an environment. Go look at the numbers. We have about 36 days of inventory, just over a month. By the way, to put this into context, folks, a healthy real estate market is when you have 6 months of inventory.
Yeah.
We are barely scratching 1 month. There's no properties. Part of the reason is because people who would like to sell are not going to sell. You know why? Because they have 3% interest rates on their artificially lowered rates when the Fed decided to buy a bunch of mortgage-backed securities and drop rates down to the threes. Those were not real. Go look at history, look at your charts. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage in the last 30, 40 years has been between 6 and 7%. And those of you who bought in the 80s, you know you were in double digits. Remember when it hit 21% and then came down to 13 and everybody was having a party because they thought 13% was free money? Some of you maybe have never even lived during that time, but I'm telling you, look at history, right? So make sure you pick your tribe of professionals very closely, because the difference can give you a dramatically different result. When somebody is for you, has your best interest for theirs, it's not about the commission. It's more about the mission of helping you achieve the dream of homeownership. It shows up. And the grind is, these folks are out there looking for properties for you. They're even looking for properties outside of the MLS, because not everything's on the multiple listing service. We have what are called private listings and pocket listings, as we like to call them. And that's dependent on also on the agent's network, which I know your network, Jeff, is humongous. I know that you have access to stuff that most people don't even know exists. And that's part of the value proposition. So get really good at vetting your professionals. This leaves a lot of evidence, the way they speak. Are they talking in I and me as opposed to we and you? Next time you talk to somebody that you think is your friend, start to count the I's and me's as opposed to the we's and us. You know, I'm telling you, I started doing this 12 years ago. And in meetings, I already know when the meeting's over. I had one that said it, I and me, 58 times. I knew this is way over.
Sounds like presidents.
Exactly. Politicians in general, right?
Politicians, they love saying, I did
and
this.
By the way, if you're a politician, I'm not apologizing for that statement. But
how could you say I, when you're not, it's
right?
It's ludicrous. It's
so number one step is make
we.
sure you pick your professionals correctly. Have your team, because you're not going to be an expert at everything. And by the way, Zillow and Redfin, all those things are not going to solve everything. AI is not going to solve it. This is very much a human touch business still. There's too many idiosyncrasies to allow AI to do it for you. This is not one of those businesses. And I don't see that changing in the near future. The second thing is, you got to get prepared, right? And I tell people, before you buy a house, get prepared emotionally, because here's the truth. You're going to be competing with people out there. And by the way, if you're one of those people who are waiting for rates to come down, remember Uncle Ed said, you're going to regret it. Here's why. Because you think you're the only one in that situation. There's millions of people waiting. Guess what happens when the rates do come down? They all jump in. That's your competition. You're going to be outbid. We're going to have 20 to 25 offers per property, and they're going to go way over asking. Remember that? Not too long ago? That cycle is coming. Right
Mhm.
now, focus on getting a good deal because you can, and
Yeah.
refinance later. But get your equity, get your tax write-offs, because remember, the mortgage interest is deductible. Remember, up to $10,000 a year of property taxes are deductible. How much of your rent's deductible? Exactly.
Yeah.
Donut. None of it, right? You are basically, if you're renting right now, you are basically a part-time employee of the IRS. That's the
Yeah.
truth. So homeownership is alive and kicking. Don't let anybody tell you. Are we going through a crunch because the Fed, in their infinite wisdom, is attempting to choke employment by raising rates and taking with it banks, taking with it a lot more companies that are coming up because the Fed is saying that they're going to potentially raise rates another 2 times? The cost of funds for some of these companies that are barely making it right now is going to go up. They're not going to survive. We're at 1.3 or 1.4 trillion dollars of credit card debt. Those people's rates are going to go up. Some of those are going to have to go bankrupt, unfortunately. So we are going to experience continued pain. But I believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is not an oncoming train, by the way. That light is coming. I see the numbers, and I see that inflation is coming down. Is it coming down as fast as we'd all like, or even the Fed for that matter, which is why he's raising rates again? No,
Yeah.
but it's headed in the right direction, and don't miss the opportunity. So let's talk about Marin a little bit.
Okay.
Jeff, what are you seeing in Marin right now? Because I know that, historically there hasn't been a ton of transactions in Marin. It's more of a smaller boutique
Yeah.
kind of environment, right? But what are you seeing? Where are the opportunities? Is Novato good? Is Mill
Oh,
Valley
well,
still
I
good?
think, the Marin County market is all based on schools, and
Yeah,
that's just it. And then when I talk to people about Marin and where they want to be, my first question is going to be, do you have kids? Where are they going to be? Are you planning on public schools? Because a lot of schools are phenomenal in Marin County. And then you usually go up to a certain point and you say, okay, well, then it hits San Rafael. San Rafael has put in a lot of infrastructure onto their school over the last couple of years. So there's,
agreed.
that campus has really turned into something pretty phenomenal. And then you go up a little bit further into Novato. Now, the difference in that is really, okay, well, if you're commuting to the city, how far away is the difference between San Rafael and Novato? When you get over the hill from, say, Green Bay into San Rafael, prices drop substantially, 10% pretty easily right as you go into San Rafael. The nice thing about San Rafael is it's got the best weather in California almost. I mean, it's nice up there.
It is. You're right, and it's got all the infrastructure too. I mean, Fourth
It's
Street is
sunny.
awesome.
You got everything up there. Novato, you're just a little bit further up. So great community. There's actually an area that I really like over there, right on the waterfront, Marin
Oh
Keys,
yeah,
that would be
Bellarine
it.
Keys is cool. Yeah,
So there's just different pockets, and it does cost a lot more money up here. People do rent more than they own up here just simply because of the purchase prices. I do see that the days on market are a little bit longer right now than normal, but that is
I noticed that. What is it?
typical.
What's the average right now?
Oh, I think it's around 30-ish days, but the reality is, we were talking a lot of money, for these houses. So what we're doing is I'm pivoting more up to Marin County simply because, you know, I've done the city for so long. I know it off the back of my hand. I am one of these guys that likes to challenge myself and expand the network and expand the brokerage. So we have 4 agents up here, 4 agents up here in Marin County now, including myself. We've got agents in the city. We've got agents down in San Mateo County, and what we're doing is growing the brokerage. And so I'm the managing broker of Marker Luxury Properties, and then Kevin Markarian, who started Marker Real Estate, who's a business partner of mine. What we're doing is, and I'm kind of waiting for DRE paperwork. We're folding Marker Luxury underneath Marker Real Estate, so we could get rid of redundancies in this time where there's tightening of the belt.
Yeah.
I just want to tighten the belt overall. And then the DRE paperwork's putting me as the designated officer for Marker Real Estate. So what we're doing is I'm pivoting in a couple different directions here in this time period, So, my marketing is always pretty tight. I try to I try to put everything out there, right? I mean, you can't rely on one silver bullet on any of that, to be frank with you. So I start with my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is as deep as you can go, in my opinion. I mean, if there's 25, I coach agents. When we bring on agents, even yesterday I'm looking at our LinkedIn profile. I'm like, you need a lot of work, and so I provide like a why exercise for these agents. I provide a 3-page business planning guide for the agents so they can start to think about their job as a career and really approach it as a business, right? And so we're growing the brokerage, we're growing our local team. I am still a full-time agent grinding it out. I've partnered up with Bryant Kowalczyk, who is my business partner under Marker Lux. And so we're sort of teaming up for Tiburon, Mill Valley, Sausalito in particular. With postcards, we've got ISAs, we've got everything that we need to start hitting the marketplace here. We also do leasing, which a lot of people don't want to touch the leasing. And I see it as a great door opener to a lot of people, to where it's like, we're not going to do property management. I don't want to handle people's money. And then the auditing from the DRE is totally different. I don't want to deal with any of that. But if we offer the leasing, we could build relationships that way. So we have, I've got a beautiful house over on Belvedere Island right now. That's just the views are just insane. And so what we're doing is we're just sort of in this time where like everything's contracting in the marketplace. I'm sort of double downing on a lot of different things, and I'm pivoting from an agent's point of view, from a broker business owner point of view, from just an overall conceptual point of view to move everything forward. My goal is to really, just keep on grinding here in Marin County, San Francisco, but at the same time, growing the company throughout California. My business partner, Kevin Markarian, he's like one of the only guys that I've ever met that I'm really kind of like, wow, this guy is really impressive. But I do think that there are things that we could do to elevate everybody. And part of that is because he is really good at lead generation for all of our agents. And we've got a couple of programs for that. And then what we want to do is just grow everything out. If we could have 200-300 agents here in California, maybe more, then we're all winning, right? And so I want to sort of elevate him to where he is focused on lead generation. I am focused on brokerage and realty activities, and that's where my head is. I'm just full throttle every single day. And when you get back to we're talking about approaching this as a career. The funny thing is, there's people that I talk to, and I might not have a new, it's maybe a new relationship. I've reached out to about 7,000 people last week that were in my database, and I've talked to a few of them, and they're like, you have so much passion on what you do. You must really love what you do. And the reality is, I do. It is hard, though. It is definitely hard. It's not easy all the time, especially when we're in a marketplace like this, where you're kind of questioning, what the heck am I doing? But the reality is, it's not me. We're reacting to the outside forces of the economy, out of what's going on with the Fed, all of that. So it's very reactionary. And I know that there's a lot of agents, including myself, that will get bummed out. Just like, God damn it. I lost a deal last week. I'm still upset about it because, the guy should have freaking picked up the phone and just called me and had a conversation. But when you have these, multiple bid scenarios, there's a fine line on what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And it's also, you don't want to come off like a jerk, just a demanding agent out there. You want to build a rapport. And so sometimes I'm flummoxed on some of these things. I've never been rejected more than I have this year. I mean, it's freaking challenging out there.
Well, and I
And
think,
so,
Jeff, a lot of people are confused because you had a market that flooded the market with a lot of newbies.
yep.
How does a consumer know the difference in
Mhm.
reality if they all have a DRE license, right?
I think
Well,
that
the
is a
reality is that the
great
license
point.
doesn't dictate
That is a
your
great point.
subject matter expertise. And
Right.
so it's not a personal thing. I just think that you alluded to this many sentences ago, that there's a lot of confusion out there.
Mhm.
People don't know the difference because there's a lot of misinformation, and the information channels are flooded every
You're
single day.
flooded
It's
with a
Google, it's
lot
CNN,
of
it's this,
agents.
it's Fox, it's that,
Yeah.
it's the other, right?
Oh,
It's
I don't watch
everybody's
this. I don't watch
chiming
that.
in. And on top of that, your phone, most people think that their phone has made them a journalist. And so you have all that going on too.
Yeah.
It confuses the person, the consumer out there, from who is really a subject matter expert and who is just kind of reading a teleprompter or reading
Right.
something off of Google, right?
Right.
But to that point, I think it does present a lot of opportunities to go out there and show you, the consumer, that there is a difference between the folks who know and don't know, the ones who this is a calling, not just a way of making a living, right? That we have your best interests. And that's why I say picking the right team in the right financial tribe or real estate tribe is so critical as step one. Number two is get yourself ready psychologically to win, because here's the thing: if you are really committed to owning a home, you will. If you are not, you won't. It's the old thing, right? It's like, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't,
It's
you can't.
it's envisioning
Psychological.
what you want, and
Yep.
I play this last year, I played the mind hacking game. I try to I try to come at, especially when I'm down, because there is a psychological game here. Um, come from a point of gratitude, because
Yes.
anxiety does not live and worry does not live when you have gratitude and appreciation for what you have,
Well,
right?
plus worry doesn't solve anything.
Worry
You
doesn't
know,
solve anything. Worry,
look,
and that's,
worry, hope, all those are not good strategies.
yeah, no, and I've had to deal with that. I mean, because
Sure.
honestly,
We're
this
humans.
year to me is worse from a psychological point of view. It's right there with 2008. I mean, and I think maybe even worse, simply because my business has grown so much since then, and I have been, I wouldn't say beaten up, but I have been so close to the finish line and then pushed back. This,
Yeah. Yeah.
to where
Totally.
it's like you have showings, you do what you can with your clients, and then there's no action. So because there's a lot of people that are out there that are quote unquote, they're waiting, they're worried, they don't know what they're going to be doing. But I know that you have, excuse me, a great chart to show
I do. Thanks for the cue,
what.
up. But yeah, folks,
Yeah,
look,
yeah, no, I mean,
here's the
so
truth. So let's take a look at this real quick, because think about, here's what I want you to do, those of you who are watching this. Think about all those times in your life that you wanted something that was viable. I'm not talking about, you wanted the new iPhone or that sort of thing, something that's really important in your life. And you decided, I'm going to snooze on it. Now, fast forward 5, 6 years after you decided to snooze. Was that a good decision?
yeah,
Right? So let's put that to numbers here. So in this case, in this scenario, I decided, okay, let's take $1,400,000 property, right? The house is for sale for $1,400,000. You're going to put 20% down, but you're going to wait, let's say 6 months, right? You wait 6 months because you're waiting for the rate to come down. Yeah, the payment difference is going to be about $500 a month. Okay. Which, I always say this, is that a true number? Well, remember, all the mortgage interest and up to $10,000 of property taxes per year are deductible. So that doesn't take into consideration this.
yeah,
But let's go down here, which is really where the real bread is and this is what cuts the mustard, so to speak. If you wait for 6 months, you have a potential loss of $42,809 because look, just loss of appreciation is almost 37,000 because you're not getting that as a renter. The other part is that how about, and I didn't even put that in here, by the way, is I didn't put the difference tax wise for all your write-offs because of course I don't know what your tax bracket is. But if you wait a year, you're talking 86 grand. 2 years, 209,000. You wait 3 years, 341,000. But let's just say you do wait for 2 years because that's how long it takes to rates to come back down because that's your main decision maker. I mean, would you sign up to lose 209,000? I know I wouldn't. And this, by the way, for some people, is more than they make at work. And this is what I consider to be passive income because it's just owning a home that you sleep in as a benefit anyway, right? Because you got to have a place to live. So put things into context. And by the way, if any of you watching wants a custom one done for you, I can change these numbers and I can do something specifically for you. This is not a sales technique. This is just the numbers don't lie kind of approach. If you want to go over these numbers to see if it makes sense for you to wait or not, I have tools. Please reach out to me. I'm never going to sell you anything. It's just to help you make the best informed financial decision. But, just this example alone, this is what it's going to show you. Because here's the thing, I'm already seeing, because of lack of inventory, people losing out when they put in offers. And those are the ones who are motivated. So can you imagine if you're waiting, what's going to happen once everybody jumps in, once rates hit in the fives? Because I do believe that's going to happen, by the way. Let's be very clear. I do believe in forecasts that rates will come down to the fives. When? That's the $1 million question.
Right.
What's my estimate? I think in 2024, probably mid
the
third quarter, right?
Yeah. Remember, and let me interject real quick. Remember, the Fed is pushing us into a recession. What happens in recessions? Rates typically go down, right?
Yes,
I think what the Fed wants to do is, and the hardest part of what the Fed is trying to do, and I think the Fed has kind of derailed everything. I think we're sort of upside down on a lot of things, to be frank with you. But I think that if they could get a handle on employment, which is going to be more difficult because everybody wants to work from home, which also means that companies probably have more money because they're not really have to be subject to their corporate rent as much, right? And so if you have this different work dynamic, which I don't think is going away, I was hopeful that people would be coming back to the office. And I know that the bankers want, say JP Morgan and whatnot, but that's mostly in New York. I know that Facebook wants people to come back to the office. And I think that it'll slowly get back in there. But the reality is people like the work from home mentality. And then what does that really mean? That also means that it opens up to a global marketplace.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that COVID has definitely changed how everything works. And as we talked about it the other day, I don't think Jay Powell, I mean, he's an old man, and I don't know if he quite realizes or sees that because the employment landscape is different than it was traditionally for decades, right? I mean, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think that the whole QE3, having rates down so low during the 2016 on, I mean, was it necessary? I don't know.
And the other part of it, Jeff, is that it creates a false sense of this is never going away. And so guess what? It also creates a false sense of expectation when rates do go up because look, guys, rates do go up. Look at history again, the charts. I mean, it's not a flat line.
Yeah,
they go up and they go down.
Yep.
But it creates this false sense that these are going to come back. I don't think in my lifetime we'll ever see 2s and 3s again.
Oh, no. I do think that they will land. My prediction is they're going to land around 5.5 to 6.
Yes.
Because when you look at the 10-year, and also I think that there is
10-year treasury, by the way, folks, is what we're talking about here.
Say that again?
No, I was just explaining that the 10-year means 10-year treasury.
Yeah. So remember that, the inversion curve happened a year ago between the 10-year and the 2-year. and that was a year ago. That is not necessarily a predictor of recession, but every recession we've had, that was a predictor. So you've had that yield curve inversion. Sometimes it does not go to a recession, but think about everything that they've been talking about: recession, recession, recession for basically 2 years. So if we're going to be in a recession, hey, it's probably going to be a mild one, and if it does, yeah, everybody's going to be tightening belt. But the reality is, if that's going to happen, rates are going to come down. That's my prediction. And then we're going to have, people are going to be jumping back into real estate. So in this interim period of time, people, if you could afford the house and you like the house and you envision yourself being there for some time, buy the house, right? Because you could always refinance. If you're waiting, as your chart has explained, it's going to cost you money. And I know that people are going to be on the sidelines. I've been on the sidelines, before, and it's like, well, you got to do what you got to do for your family first, and you got to be financially sound on certain things, and spouses and everybody needs to be contributing, and yeah, life gets a little bit bogged down. I get it, but I think that there's plenty of opportunity out there. It's the problem with the inventory today. It's like those perfect houses that are priced really aggressively low, like they're priced right, they're going to be multiple bid. And so that's the thing. And when you talked about emotion, my clients were wrecked. I'm wrecked from last week because I think we got freaking robbed. Honestly, I'm pissed. And I'm upset for my clients because she loved the house. And it was just one of these things that it's like, we were so close, and it was devastating that we didn't get it. I mean, absolutely devastating.
I hear you,
and
man.
so from an emotional point of view, that's kind of thing. And you're showing this 10-year yield. I look at the CNBC 10-year yield every day on my phone, and it does pretty much mirror the mortgage rates, right? To some degree.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, pretty
close.
Yeah, the 30-year fixed.
And it goes, the funny thing is, when you look at the 10-year over the last 6 months, 7, 8 months, you could see, and when you see like it came down in January, people were like getting optimistic again. And then it goes back up, and then mortgages go up. And so you follow it. But I'm looking at the bottom part of that last bit of trend line, because that huge down that you're showing right now, that's not realistic. That
right
whole
here.
trough.
Yeah, that was not.
That's just BS.
But look at history, folks. Look at this here. Look at this here. This is your line. Look in 2006 where it was compared to now.
That flattened. That in 2006.
Look at that.
I remember when rates went up, and it paused the market back in the day, right? But you look at the current down. If you could go a little bit closer, you could see in this calendar 6 months, you could see that the bottom rate has been, every time it goes lower, it goes a little bit lower. That's a choppy line, huh?
Look at this, folks. Yep. All over the place, right?
Right. So when I'm looking at that trend, I've seen, 3 bottoms in this calendar year. My prediction is the next bottom is going to be lower than the previous bottom.
Yeah. Look at January 2020. There it is compared to now.
Yeah. But we're getting back into like that quote unquote normal range. I mean, that's.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I mean, the average rate on a 30-year in the last 35 years has been between 6 and 7%. That's just what it is. It's just that we have very bad short-term memory, right?
Yeah.
We don't remember because, of course, we want the 2 to 3%. So we grab onto that, which is why I said that having those rates created a false sense of expectations that it's always going to stay that way. And that was not the case at all. So, Jeff, how do people get a hold of you, man, so that they could talk about some Marin real estate or some San Francisco and how to win?
Right. So I'm pretty far out there. If people want to research me, and I tell my agents this, LinkedIn profile, everybody's going to look at you. You can see who I am, what I do. Yep. My website is jeffmarples.com. I have everything up there. I try to do some blogging. I do as
You have
much
great videos too.
sort
Go
of
look at his videos,
educational
his
stuff.
YouTube channel, folks,
I have
because
a
he's got some
YouTube
great stuff.
channel. All of that is linked on my website.
Excellent.
People could always call me at my phone, which is 415-336-9695. That's my direct line. I talk to people all the time and just sort of work it. And I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a salesperson. I'm like you, Ed. I try to advise people.
Yeah, we're consultative
And
people.
give them good information, and that's not steered, so they could make their own decisions on what they want to do, how it's going to impact them. And that comes down to from different points of view, what's going to be better. And then when it comes down to actually looking at real estate, and just say, well, this is what I do like, this is what I don't like, and I think that the fluffy sort of salesman-y approach, that's not me, and I can't change me. And the reality is I'm just going to be straight at it and say what I like, what I don't like, what I think is
It's one of the
best.
things I like about you, that
And
you're very transparent and
it's
honest,
so
authentic.
well, see, that's the thing. And that's where it's sort of like, I think people, when you look at my Google, I only put all of my testimonials on Google at this point, right? My Google testimonials, everybody, you just read those and you'll know exactly how I do my business. That's all I could say on that.
Well, there you go. That's the mic drop, folks. So thank you for listening in. As you can see, the frustrations with everybody. We as professionals are frustrated as well as you are as a consumer. But you know what? It takes a village. Make sure, again, three things that I want you to focus on. One, building your tribe, your team of professionals. Make sure that you vet them and you know who's who. Second is get ready psychologically for it, because
that's a big one.
we're going into war, right? And we're part of your army. And then the third part is get yourself ready financially and get pre-approved. Whether it's with me or somebody else, make sure that it's fully underwritten. Don't play any games and just get estimates. No, get fully approved and underwritten so that you can go in and put in very aggressive terms when you're putting in your offer. Because guess what? We're also seeing a high on all cash offers. We're at like 34% throughout the country of all cash offers. That's pretty high, folks, which means only 66% of people are getting financing. That wasn't the case before, right? So get prepared. Those three things, make sure you embrace them. And we will see you at the next video. Thank you so much, Jeff. As always, man, you're always a wealth of information. And I love your passion because I share it with you. Have a great day, folks.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.